Sharpies, how is everybody doing this evening? Welcome to Steel, Sharp, and Steel. I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joyce Stevens.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
This is an exciting week. Some of you have been with us almost from the beginning, and when we started Steel, Sharp, and Steel, when it was just Chuck Hobbs and I doing our commentary, it actually was during the Republican National Convention 2020. So here we are 4 years later, almost exactly to the week of where we are once again facing an outlandish circumstance in which an orange tie-dyed idiot is poised to secure the nomination. And indeed, he is the only person who was on the ballot and secured the required number of votes yesterday, thanks to the decrepit offering of the Crypt Keeper from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, who prayerfully announced that he is not seeking, or he's going to retire, rather. It's not even a matter of seeking re-election. He's retiring in November, which would be good news if the Kentucky legislature, which is led by Republicans, hadn't basically stripped power from Beshear. So Beshear is not going to be able to appoint his replacement, but there's a slim chance that in a special election that the Democrat who ran against McConnell last time will be able to prevail. But that is only one of the many stories we have today. Joy is joining us remotely. How are you doing, Joy?
I'm doing well. Last week I was tired and wasn't sure. I am tired again, but I am also, I don't want to say energized or resigned. I can't really say, but I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. Like legitimately, that's what I'm doing. I'm in it to win it. I'm trying my best to encourage everyone not to give up, before we cross the finish line.
That's right.
Don't assume that we lose. Make them take it from us,
That's right. And Jermaine, you just donned some spectacles, right? As Joy was
doing
her introduction. How are you doing today?
50-year-old eyes. As I mentioned in pre-show, I'm just a bit anxious. This time of the year, every 4 years, I'm always anxious whenever they're having their hoopla. It's coming at us, every night. And it's dark, and it's darker this year. So
it's dark and hell is hot.
Yeah, it's like the subtext of everything right now. Everything is just colored under that right now. So I'm just basically getting through it. I'm wishing this night is over. This is helping. Talking with you guys, this is therapy. But as soon as this night is over and when the balloons drop in Milwaukee, I feel like I'll be a little bit, a little bit more relieved of it like that.
Well, thank you, Anthony. We are all bespectacled this evening. And
we are.
Something you said to me, Jermaine, kind of leads me to what I consider to be a very good segue. This wasn't going to be our first topic tonight, but since you were talking about things coming at you in the dark, it seems appropriate to say that according to reports, grinder usage at the GOP RNC National Convention has skyrocketed, and even causing the app to kind of crash. We have basically Grindr and the RNC. Now, it should be said.
Wait, what is Scruff?
Oh, it's for the Bears and the Burley types in our.
Oh, okay.
We'll chat after the show.
Okay, I get it.
Oh, see, I completely missed that.
You don't know.
I had no idea what Scruff was. I thought it was just some scrubbing app. So apparently,
those who appreciate them, the Bears guys with the mustaches.
Yeah, my work husband married a bear.
Yeah.
And I used to make jokes with him because, I'm a full-figure girl. I was his girl bear. That's why we got along so well,
But the 10 is a lot more open because I learned that in some circles, I'm a cub. What the fuck?
Yes, sir. Yes, you are.
I'm not a cub.
You're giving mad cub energy.
I'm not a cub.
Yeah, you're not.
I guess.
Okay.
You know
when I lived in Chicago,
private life.
When I lived in Chicago, I rooted for the Cubs. But there's some subtext in this conversation, which is not a part of this conversation. So I just want to say we do have some reporting around this issue of the hooking of the up and the appage and all of these sorts of things, because it is clearly something that is a part of the makeup of this convention. So
Right.
what I'd like to
Different
say,
Cubs, Tom. Different Cubs.
yeah, so I understand. Certainly not the ones that play in one of my favorite baseball stadiums. So this is just a part of kind of what one might say is the shit show of the RNC this year. One of the things that proved to be particularly problematic for some of the folks who are there is that you've got a vice presidential candidate in the face of J.D. Vance, who has some of Donald Trump's supporters mad. Now, why would that be? I mean, he's from Ohio, which is a state that Trump was probably going to take anyway, and he's a veteran, which is something that Donald definitely could use some support on, since he was a notorious draft dodger. And he has a beard, which, according to Jermaine, makes him an ideal candidate for scruff.
Wait, beard or a beard? Because we got a lot of multiple lingo going on here. Like a Pence beard or like a physical beard?
Well, I think he does have a physical beard.
Okay.
But he is also a beard for Trump's lack of military support.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you that. Okay.
It is a double entendre. It was purposeful, and then you throw in the scruff thing, and so it's all together. So one of the things that is a challenge for J.D. Vance, and I assure you, this is absolutely not a Nazi salute.
Sure.
Even though a lot of the people at the RNC are unabashedly Nazi adjacent, would maybe be a fair word to say. But definitely not J.D. Vance. Definitely not J.D. Vance, although in the past he did refer to Donald Trump as being like
America's Hitler. Yeah.
Did say that Donald Trump was completely unfit for office. Did say that he was going to take the country in the wrong direction. Did say that he was pulling the focus of the white working class from actual issues onto divisive issues. Did say that he would never support him. Now, fast forward, here we are, and he's actually on the ticket. Now, despite what we've been led to believe, apparently some MAGA Trumpers do have a memory. And everything isn't automatically flushed down the memory hole just because Trump says so. And so he has been a little bit problematic. Jermaine, you are really concerned with the amount of Nazi rhetoric that is being escalated during this campaign cycle and by the RNC. How do you feel about J.D. Vance and what he's bringing to the quote-unquote table as a vice presidential candidate?
Well, I feel like on the whole, I thought it was it was risky. And then when I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute. He is really, really confident because he feels like he can afford not to bring in more people into the tent. I thought had he used this opportunity to pull like that Bergstrom guy from North Dakota or South Dakota, it would have opened up his base a little bit more and people could have seen a way in, because there's a lot of alienated Republicans right now. And I feel like that Bergstrom guy would have like gave them a signal that yes, you're still a part of this party. But he sort of doubled down with the whole MAGA point of view when he chose Vance. And Vance is, I guess he just proves to be this very opportunistic guy for him. I understand there's some dealings in Silicon Valley as a result of him being attached to Vance. He's full on MAGA more so than Trump is. He is the Heritage Foundation's, that is their mascot.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, why wouldn't he have used this opportunity to pivot and, open it up a little bit more? But given what I just said, I understand it now. He's very novice, though. Only 39 months in the Senate. No really bills or legislative, platforms that he can boast. There's nothing of that regard. He's co-sponsored some things, but, there's nothing with his name on it as being the author. So I guess it was just basically from the whole ass-kissing point of view that Trump chose him. And that's pretty much what it takes for Trump nowadays. So those are my feelings.
I agree with you. I think the Trump has burned so many bridges that the pickings were slim. There's some people that he couldn't pick because he talked about them so dirty. Some people he wouldn't pick because how dare you? try to, make me not look great, so he's not going to pick anybody that is an actual threat. This guy's, the things that he said to Melania Trump were happened a while back. He was kind of out of the public eye. And to your point, Jermaine, I think Trump hoped that people forgot about it. Or maybe Trump forgot about it for all we know. He could have. But
Trump didn't know about it.
That's also possible because he kind of don't know some things. I do think that, in light of the matter of fact, Anthony's made the comment I was just about to make. He is young. And this idea of, two old guys battling out, he's got a young up and comer that the Heritage Foundation has put their stamp on. I believe they came to him and said, here's who your running mate is. And he was like, fine, whatever. It's not DeSantis and it's not Nikki. So whatever. And then this guy just started saying, oh, we're going to be a great team. And Trump lives in the moment. If you tell him he's pretty today, that's all he remembers, So, but I don't think the ticket is really strong. And to your point, Tom, I do think there's a lot of MAGA people, because I'm not going to call them Republicans. They're running under the Republican banner, but they're MAGA. It's a whole different, like, Tea Party devolution. They ain't with this. And they don't like some of the things that he said. They don't like some of the things that he's done. And they're looking at their God like, why hast thou forsaken us? Like, how could you pick this guy? And I think it's leading to, surprisingly, I didn't think anybody in the MAGA universe would question Trump, but it's leading to people questioning him, which is, I think, a first for that group.
Well, one person who is definitely questioning his loyalty to Trump is a person who really saw himself as a front runner in the vice presidential sweepstakes, and went out and got a whole ass fiance, and come to find out JD Vance took your black job. Tim is, and the gums. Listen, bro, there's a thing called Photoshop. You can look at the Smile app, even on Facebook these days, and get some photographs that reduce the gummage on your face. Yeah. You're never going to be vice president when your gums have a bigger hairline than Donald Trump.
Right.
Try to reconsider your choices in life, my friend, and
or just don't smile so big.
Or don't smile so big. But you don't have a lot to smile about. I wonder if you paid for those honeymoon tickets because, maybe it gets delayed.
It wouldn't be so bad, but he publicly declared how much he loved the man in front of the cameras. You remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I just love you so much. Okay. All right.
You know what? There's an analogy here. This is a typical morning after situation. You meet some guy and he seems great, and on paper you're like, this might be the one, and you throw caution to the wind and you do some things down in Miami that you shouldn't have done, and then you wake up and and he's like, all right, I'm gonna head out, and you're like, but wait, I thought we had a moment, and he's like, yeah, your half of the hotel bill is $7,995, and you're like, but and you call his number later and it's disconnected and you don't know what happened. And I think that's how he's feeling right now.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Trump went to the pharmacy and popped a Plan JD. And has pulled him right back up onto the ticket. So, well, okay. So here's the thing, Anthony. It's a good question. I think that's how deep the Delulu is, because, in Rosemary's Baby, when you sold your soul, you actually got something.
Yeah.
So these people who sold their soul were thinking they were going to get some prize. Elise Stefanik really thought she was going to do that. Maybe Marco Rubio, who came out and just this week said some horrible things, even though he knew constitutionally it was a long shot for him to be the vice presidential candidate, because in the Constitution it says you can't have a vice president and a president from the same state.
Right.
And so Trump lives in Florida, and Marco, at least now, lives in Florida, even supposedly contemplated moving to Texas.
Yeah.
Abandoning his Senate seat to have the opportunity to run with Trump. And Lil Marco got kicked to the curb too. So Tim, I wouldn't say it's good company, but Tim, you are in company with a bunch of people who really took a lot. Not Ted Cruz amounts of shame, but took a lot.
Mhm.
Tim Scott was never in the position of bad-mouthing Trump, so he didn't have to eat as much crap as J.D.
That might
Vance.
be why he thought he was in there, because he's like, I never said anything bad about him. He's
Yeah.
got to
He
be
was
thinking nice
nice.
about me. But you're
Correct.
still black, bro.
You're
Yeah.
black. You're black
You're
and
big
bald.
gums black.
And
You
big
remember
gums black.
back in the day, and I don't know if you guys had figures like this in your life, but in the communities
How
I grew up
dare you,
in,
Chan?
when like some of the elder black people in your community, when they would see white people, all of a sudden they would become this humble. They would kind of crunch down and
Yeah.
hey, how you doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you would often like, why do you have to get so small when you're in the company? And I used to wonder about that because I had and I love her dearly, but I had an aunt that used to do that whenever she would see somebody white in the store. She would just hunch over and she would smile so big. And yeah, I was just, why are you so little, aunt? And that's what Tim Scott kind of reminds me of whenever he's in the presence of Trump. He just sort of just becomes this really, really tiny version of himself. And I just don't know if there's any coming back from that. The area that he's winning the Senate in, that's his entire political career right there. Because there's no appetite for him anywhere else.
I'm going to parse what you said, because I do think on the surface, the way that he acts around Trump and what you saw from like your aunt looks the same. But I think there's a major difference based on the fact that you and I are both, in the 50 range. Your aunt is probably in her late 60s, which means
she was middle 70s right now. Yeah.
Middle 70s.
Yeah.
So she was alive when she's basically Emmett Till's age, right?
Yeah.
Give or take. And so she was alive when if you did not act polite to white people in the street, that could end your life. I think over time it becomes a habit that she might still have. So for her, it's a coping mechanism to make sure she keeps herself safe around, especially white women that will be quick to tell somebody that you said something to them to get you lynched, right?
Okay.
Tim Scott is
closer to us.
I almost said something real terrible. Tim Scott is inhaling future children for nothing.
Yeah.
He's doing it for nothing. He's just and nothing. Gluck, gluck, zero is what he's got.
But I don't see someone like Byron Donald. Is it Donaldson or Donalds?
No, it's Donald.
He has the same sort of makeup too as the constituents that he represents. But he comes across a lot more assured as a brother.
Except that what happened with Byron Donalds, who again also from Florida, also constitutionally impossible, but kissing a whole lot of ass. His ex, his first wife, whom he met at my alma mater and married during that same period of time, and was married to her, I think 3 or 4 years, maybe as many as 5 years, whatever, left his wife, who said while they were married, he never went to church, wasn't political, whatever. He got his now wife pregnant and demanded to get a quickie divorce so that he could marry the white girl who happens to have money, and then transformed his entire persona to be this person who now could grift and make money as a black sellout. So yeah, Byron does have a warped view of segregation. Famously, the guy who said that black families were stronger in Jim Crow. Talk about being ahistorical. I wonder though, and this is a question I'm asking to you both. I'll start with you, Joy. Is there anybody whose moral compass has collapsed more rapidly and completely than Nimrata Nikki Haley? Who, as recently as the last primary in which she competed and got like 190,000 votes against Donald Trump, has now completely rolled over and actually spoke at the RNC extolling his virtues. What do you think?
Has anybody collapsed as rapidly? I think her
morally.
Mm-hmm. We leaving Ted Cruz on the table?
Well, okay, Ted Cruz previously, I guess this election cycle. Let's keep it on this election cycle.
In this election cycle. She's the Ted Cruz of this election cycle.
There it is. Mm-hmm. That's the soundbite. Say it one more time. Nikki Haley is the Ted Cruz.
Nikki Haley is the Ted Cruz of this election cycle.
And clap. All right, good job. What about you, Jermaine? What do you think about the face of the former contestants for the Veep slot, and who has had to take as big a tumble? Has anyone had to take as big a tumble as Nikki Haley?
No, in fact, the lead story, the takeaways from her speech last night had nothing to do with the substance of her speech. They all talked about the about face. Mm-hmm. They pulled up so many things that she said in interviews about Trump. I mean, the receipts were just pretty much right there in your face. There was just nothing about her speech that she gave that anybody quipped on after she was done. And I normally don't pay. I've just never had an appetite for her, but I've always respected her worldviews and her knowledge of foreign policy. I always have, because that's something that I was very deficient in. And whenever I would have to just sort of brush up on my talking points, I would always look at things that she said. Mm-hmm. She has abandoned all of that. Ukraine, her and Vance, they have polarizing positions on Ukraine, even with the whole Heritage Foundation. Mm-hmm. So it's just almost stomach turning to see where she is now. And I don't understand what the reward is, because I don't see him putting her in the cabinet.
Oh, no.
Or anything. So it's really interesting to see, where is this going? Was there a deal made that we'll get privy to later on? Or it's really telling right now. And I'm just interested in seeing where this is going to get her.
Mm-hmm. And, Anthony, I love... Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joy. No, go ahead, Joy.
I love the way you put this, beyond compromise, power grabber. The entire Republican Party is compromised, with maybe, 1 out of 1,000 exceptions. Everyone over there is like, I guess this is what we're doing now. So we're doing this, and I don't like it, but I'll do it in order to maintain my position, or to not give up the little bit of slice of power that I have. I'm just going to toe the party line. And while some people can say, oh, they're unified, they're not unified. They're afraid to say anything else. They've been cowed into agreement. And that's not how you run a democratically free country. And if we let that entire organization, they've done it, they would expect us to do it. And so if you watch them flip-flop, we become the civilization of the book 1984, where somebody's like, hey, you can trust me, I believe in you, and then they tell on you. And then they tell you, the reason I told on you is because I thought you might be doing something, and I convinced you to lie to me so I could lie to them. And the mental fuckery that will go on if they come to full power, right? They're in power now, but they're not in full power, because we always got this one little ragtag group of Democratic resistance, rebels, trying to take down the Death Star. That's what we are right now. Yeah. But I don't think any of them can look at their history of things that they've said and say, I agree with everything I said, because they flip-flopped so many times. Remember 20 years ago, was it Bob Dole? I can't remember who it was. It was some presidential hopeful, and he flip-flopped on one thing, and that's when we got the phrase. It was a rap. It was a rap for his whole presidential run. You flip-flopper. We used to have standards. What happened?
John Kerry. John Kerry had a similar issue. There was no space back then for any sort of equivocation at all. There just wasn't any space for it. And here to your point, Joy, you have people who not only are making a two-face, they're making an about-face.
Right.
And I think one of the people who potentially could be thrown into that category, at least physically, if not philosophically, is Matt Gaetz. What happened here?
Is this a real picture?
Sir, ma'am. Yes, this on the right is a picture from him delivering his speech at the RNC. And on the left is a picture of when I guess he was less made up. Because
let's talk about this. Let's leave this up. Let's take it. Okay. We're gonna take it from chin up. So first
There
of
you
all,
go.
his chin is about the same. It looks like he may have maybe lost a few pounds or something. So his chin is a little bit more angular or more pointed, but I think that's the same. You shave, he's definitely got foundation on. I know a good contour when I see it. His
Yeah.
teeth
Well,
have been evened and whitened. That's a whole different smile. His top
but
lip is
look
about
at
the same. So what?
the 5 o'clock shadow on this other picture.
Yeah,
And
that's all
there's no
gone.
hint of it. It's baby ass smooth.
Well, if you
On
watch
the picture
RuPaul's
on the
Drag
right.
Race, you
Is that a?
understand
I
how
feel
easy that
like
is
it's
to
a
get rid of.
filter.
Oh
What
no,
you say,
I
Ken?
get it. But look at those deep set smile lines that appear to have evaporated. Look at that glass smooth forehead. Look at those
It's
arched
called
eyebrows.
Botox. And his brows are done. Those are not the same eyebrows at all.
Yeah.
These plucked, colored in.
They've gotten rid of the bags under his eyes.
Well,
There's a
he
whole
is
lot
in
of
Florida because they do that in
botulism.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying, none other than Kevin McCarthy was questioning as to whether or not he was on something
Yeah.
during his speech, and of course took great glee in throwing out the underage sex allegations and the continuing investigations by the House Ethics Committee, and how his co-conspirator was in jail right now, and how the girls, then girls, now women, who he is alleged to have assaulted and paid for money for sex, are coming out, and that their allegations have actually been supported. And so it's just not really looking that good for Matt Gaetz right now, which is fine with me. There's absolutely no love lost.
Make him know. Now, Yvonne has a great point here. It's interesting that the RNC not only allowed Trump to commandeer the Republican Party, but they are also playing a major role in influencing the Democratic nominee. And that is true. They've been talking cash shit over there, saying that, things like, we won't agree to a vice presidential debate until Kamala picks her running mate. Like all sorts of nonsense. You didn't hear that?
Wow, I did not hear that one. Thank you
That's
for
news
hearing
to
that.
me. I was like, it's like kind of like, huh?
Yeah, they're playing into this, and the Democrats are letting it happen because they're having all these discussions up front, and there's so many leaks in the Democratic Party that and then we struggle to differentiate what is real and what is rumor, because every article says this may have happened. Pelosi may have done this, Obama may have said this, everybody may have said that, and then I'm simultaneously, if I scroll across my news feed, it'll say Biden is looking up, and I refresh, and it's like Biden is falling down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolute insanity. And I have to say, Democrats, I'm a soapbox for a second. Can I get you all to get a grip? Donald Trump literally is a determined sex offender, a convicted multiple felon, still has cases on the books attempting to be adjudicated, confirmed fraudster, confirmed serial philanderer, confirmed cheater on his now wife, which would make him a cheater on at least 3 wives, not to mention how many mistresses he was cheating on. And because Joe Biden had one bad debate, you're ready to throw him, just throw him out the country, basically. Meanwhile, at the Republican National Convention this week, when his own son was speaking, this was Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who slurs speeches talking about the heritage, and keeps talking about Hannibal Lecter, keeps talking about how Dana, the head of the extreme wrestling or extreme fighting, whatever the fighting thing is, WME. That guy, he suggested that he develop an immigrant league to fight the champion of WME. And you're looking at Joe Biden, who had the integrity to call the wife of the man who actually was killed at Trump's speech. You know who hasn't called that family and who didn't mention that man in tonight's speech while he talked about Lou Dobbs, who thankfully has been consigned back to whatever circle of hell he crawled out from originally? Donald Trump. This was a man standing behind Donald Trump at Donald Trump's rally.
Yeah.
And was killed. And Donald Trump has not called that family, hasn't made a reference to that man. It's shameful.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. And I'll tell you why. Because like I said, I get notifications about what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
On my phone. I got a request for donation today. And the request said, we have a letter from a man who was on stage with Donald Trump at the rally, when the shooting broke out. And he has a letter. He has something he wants to say to you. Can't you take a moment to listen to it? Of course, and then to go on and offer, for donations. But they made it seem like it was that guy. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that is some bullshit.
Well, not only did they do that in a flagrant attempt to raise money off of that. I'm not going to say it was a stage or a false flag event, but I mean, if you can say that Sandy Hook was false flag, you can say Uvalde was a false flag.
Fair game.
Fair game, false flag. Thoughts and prayers. He is literally selling merch. Look at this now.
Yeah.
This is another one of his crappy shoes. Now, the gold shoes supposedly sold out. What I can tell you as a person who is very familiar with Photoshop is that this cannot possibly be a real shoe just because the fight is literally on the rubber sole.
Yeah.
Which is not how that works, because you do have to actually stitch. So they did the Photoshop of fight. Now you could technically print
I think the American flag is real.
Yeah.
The American, this is a colorway of the original gold sneaker. Let's be clear. Gold is not the ugly color. This is an original colorway of the Trump sneaker, but they had a white version, and where it was blank, they photoshopped this image, which you could technically apply through dye sublimation or
Alibaba will do it for you for like $2 a pop.
But you're not getting that shoe in the mail. I promise you that. It's not going to look
certainly not anytime soon, because it's going to take a lot to get it right, because you're going to try a couple of times trying to get that image on there, because it's not like you can just put it through a laser.
It's going to be smeared.
It's not like silkscreen in a t-shirt.
No, it's going to be jacked up. It's going to be, it's absolutely going to be dye sub, but that's not an even surface. You'd have to have a custom thing made in order to provide sufficient support. There's lots of things you need to do to make that merch a reality, but people are paying for it, $299 for something that they probably won't ever get. It'll be like those big baller brand shoes that people had paid for, and like 2 years later, they ain't never seen them. So this is how disgusting. And it's not only the fact that Trump didn't do it, because Trump is an idiot narcissist, but there's nobody on his team. After that woman came out on the news and said, Joe Biden called and asked to speak to me, but because my husband wouldn't have wanted me to, I didn't take the call. But he did call, and Joe Biden is a moral man, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Joe Biden. That's what she said. And she then went on to say, haven't heard from President Trump. Nobody on his team said,
let's invite her to Milwaukee.
Do we choose between ear tampons, or do we choose calling the wife?
Those are ear liners. Those are ear liners.
Yeah. Okay.
But Tom, in my mind, I feel like because he did get killed, that was an upstaging for Trump.
Ooh.
I really do. I feel like, wait a minute, he actually died.
50 Shades of Narcissism.
Yeah.
Tell me some more.
He just could not give that guy any more shine, because he paid the ultimate price. I mean, where can you go after that? So I feel like
upstage Trump. Wow.
Yeah. So I feel like it was probably like him saying no. We might send a little money later on if we do that, but I honestly feel like he was pretty much the architect of that decision. I do. And I hate to say it, but the man is all about him. So I just don't put it past him.
Oh, I don't hate to
put
say
it
that
past
at all.
him. Yeah.
No,
that's a sad thing to say, but I feel like that's what
it's a true thing to say. I don't know if it's sad. I think it's factual. So to that point, I think the last thing that we want. It was paid before pleasure. So here are the the ear tampons with wings. And you know that sister girl with the hat in the front row is a mouth breather. You just know.
I mean, she's breathing through her mouth right now, and that's just a napkin folded up and stuck in the side of her hat.
Right. At least the other people have actual tape on their ears.
Guys,
that's a
we
lot.
as Black people, we have always had inspirational figures in our lives. Be it Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, we have always had people that we've looked to that just gave us this moment that we are a touchstone that we followed.
Yeah.
I believe this is their first time. I really do, because I have never, I'm trying to remember, unless my memory fails me, you guys can help me. I don't remember anyone else being so inspirational and such a guide stone for them until
Jerry
now.
Falwell.
No,
Not
I
like
would
this,
say
though.
I would say Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
When Ronald Reagan was in office, and even after, you have to remember, before Donald Trump, Ronald Reagan was the avatar of the United States conservative movement, all the way through George Bush, through H.W. Bush, certainly because he was in the immediate aftermath. But the reason that Bush, GW, was able to win after Clinton was that he referenced that shining city on a hill and tear down that wall and the compassionate conservatism, and Ronald Reagan did this and Ronald Reagan did that. Meanwhile, Ronald Reagan had as much a diminished faculty, if not more of a diminished faculty, than Joe Biden has ever demonstrated, and dipped his hair in that thick black pomade until he stepped out of office. So I would say up until the point that Trump and what Trump represents completely co-opted and turned the GOP on its head. And that didn't even happen until he secured the nomination. You heard Reagan's name in the primary. You heard Reagan's name in the debate. But then as a counterpoint to Trump. But then once Trump got it, it was like, okay, this is the new thing. There is no Reagan. There is no Jesus. There is no Washington. There is no Abraham Lincoln. It's now all Trump.
Trump is my Messiah.
He doesn't even talk about Andrew Jackson, the one picture that he hung up in the Oval Office. He doesn't mention him anymore.
And for those of y'all who may have forgotten, don't forget Andrew Jackson is the one that committed the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's his favorite.
This is exactly the sort of person that you would expect him to venerate in that way. But that, I think, to answer your question, Jermaine, it really is, a lot of these old people couldn't even remember what they liked about Reagan because he has so completely co-opted the brain space that they used to have, which is just attached to their brains. With Reagan, it was welfare mothers. That was his ticket. He rode welfare mothers right into the White House, or not welfare mothers, welfare queens, driving Cadillacs and all this sort of stuff. And everybody's got their little thing. Trump's thing is just vague grievance and lies. And at least Ronald Reagan, I think Ronald Reagan actually believed what he was saying. And by the time he was done, he basically had Alzheimer's.
Well, Ronald Reagan was an actor, Tom. So.
Well, I understand, but he was also a politician. Let's be clear. The governor of California.
Nancy was a politician.
Well,
Nancy
had other skills,
right there.
Apparently.
I mean, we already talked about the swallow. So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. There's a brother. I don't know you TikTok people. There's a brother on TikTok, an old guy, and he said, these young fellas can dish it out, but they can't take it. And this guy kept calling me old, and he says, well, you is old. And he said, well, I can tell you a truth too. Your grandmother has good inside the mouth skin. Go tell that. So
that's
I only bringing that up in the context of Nancy Reagan because famously,
I mean, nobody ever stopped and asked Too Short if what he said was real. He said she came to his house. I mean, maybe.
This is why you tuned in for this program, because I guarantee there's no other political commentary show that would reference inside the mouth skin and a Too Short statement within seconds of one another. Thank you so much, Sharpies. We love you for being a part of this show. So moving on from you're in a cult, tell me you're in a cult without telling me you're in a cult. The whole Donald Van Gogh of it all. Look at yourselves in the mirror. Literally, look at yourselves in the mirror. And also, Donald Trump. If Matt Gaetz can put on foundation to cover up his bags and his lines and his beard and his age, you trying to tell me they couldn't put like the same sort of plaster that every barber, every black barber in America can dab on your face and then put some foundation over it so you look like you weren't
no, they wanted him to look, because first of all,
I know, because it's spite. I get it. No, I understand. But honestly, the narrative that you were trying to spew about it being by the left, now that the kid was confirmed to be a Republican and his dad was confirmed to be a part of your marketing database because he indexed so highly as a gun owner and a hunter, that you were marketing and sending marketing messages to his family. Not to mention the fact that Alex Jones, everybody remember Alex Jones? You won't very soon because his entire media empire is being stripped for crumbs.
Sandy Hook,
He was on his show advocating for the shooting of Donald Trump. He literally said the best thing that could happen to the party is that Donald Trump gets killed, because then he's a martyr and it would turn into a racial purge, that the right would rise up and go on a killing spree to cleanse the nation. And his guest on the show actually agreed. So while Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking trash about bullseye and everything else, when you know that you've been using that same sort of language, you can't find a Republican House representative ad that doesn't feature somebody holding a gun. We're locked and loaded. We've got the big guns. We da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All of that violent rhetoric and language. Joni Ernst shooting 10 bullets into a damn bullseye on a target. That is where all of that language is coming from. And yet you're trying to say that Joe Biden saying once that Donald Trump was an existential threat is what motivated this 20-year-old who, quite frankly, let's be clear, couldn't have learned it from anywhere but his own parents or the chat groups he was in. That's what it's really about. That's what the narrative is actually about. And you're trying to pass it along. And since that failed, and since Trump didn't get a shooting bump, now you've got to pivot. You got to pivot right
It's
away.
already the fifth story of the night. It's not even trending at the top.
No, it's done. It's a wrap.
Worse than that, some people look at him like come on, bro. Like the minute, because I believe I've been traveling a lot, and Tom, you called me. You were like, "Did you see the thing?" And I was like, so "What happened?" He goes, "Donald Trump got shot," and I was like, "Oh, did he?" That was my voice. Oh, word.
That was the response.
Is he alive? And then you were like, it was just a news story. So I went and looked for the video, and I immediately called you back. I was like, I call bullshit on this, bro. Like I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I'm like, look at this, look at that. That's not true. If just the physics of it, if you got hit on this side, you're going to come to that side. He went forward. I was like, I call bullshit on all of this. Now I don't have any forensic evidence that it didn't actually happen the way they say it happened. I'm just going off my gut feelings as an individual and saying I call bullshit on that. But then I went out to the internet and discovered millions of people that were like, yeah, it's bullshit. And so the younger generation, like the 35 and unders that are very, very tech savvy, were pulling that apart, frame by frame.
Well, but the other thing is that there was so much footage of people pointing to the building, like, look, he's up there. No, he just climbed up the building. There's somebody up there. And the barn where the snipers actually had a clear line of sight, it's like they're yelling for 2 minutes. You can look at the video for 2 minutes before those shots rang out. And a cop actually went up on the roof and turned around. Now, you haven't heard that cop's name. But the story is that he went up on the roof to confront the guy. The guy turned around and aimed his rifle at him, and he went down the stairs. And then as soon as he turned around, the guy realized that he had to go and shot. So you're trying to tell me that snipers with binoculars, they weren't that far away. The barn was not that far away.
No, it wasn't.
They were in Istanbul trying to line up a shot.
His details should have at least covered that area.
And they didn't do it. And to try to say, somebody even said it was a DEI person who is over
what is a DEI person?
Well, they made the white the Secret Service.
The head of the Secret Service. Here's the thing. She wasn't there.
Yeah.
The detail was in charge of that area. The
Right.
detail chief was in charge of that area. If you ask me, it was Jussie Smollett, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying something is not right about this whole circumstance. And people are like, oh, do you think that Trump would order the death of somebody? I said, well,
I don't
you
think
have to have a patsy.
Yeah.
And I don't think he intended for that firefighter to be shot.
No,
I
he
think
did not.
Might have
It
even
just
thought
happened to happen. Exactly.
that, right. I think he thought it might be a blank, and maybe this kid did his thing because you don't. To me, the teleprompter things, because it was the teleprompter glass that got shattered.
Yeah.
That's why they're saying he missed. The
shrapnel.
teleprompters are at least, my hands are 4 feet apart now. How are you that far off? That you didn't even have anybody lined up. If you're 4 feet off and you just clipped his, I mean, anyway, I don't want to get into a rabbit hole on that.
I'm with you, Tom.
It's too much.
In what world can a 20-year-old novice gunman outsmart the Secret Service of the United States? I cannot get my head around that.
What was it, B613? Is that
the name? B613, 140 yards away. But that's
not
this
far.
Is a weird scandal episode.
That's not far.
And it's going to come out. I don't know when, but it's going to come out.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's check is not going to clear, and it's going to come out.
Listen, come out in October, please.
Yeah.
A single text message, a single email, a single voicemail, a single phone record.
They have it under wraps now, but I can see it happening.
It's going to unravel because he doesn't care anymore. He's trying to ride it, but when those shoes don't sell, he's going to realize that it's not worth it. But here's another scandal, since we've been talking about scandals, and I want to move on to the next thing. Aileen Cannon, however you want to call it, she dismissed the Mar-a-Lago documents case. Now, I want to give you the upside on this because, quite frankly, she and her slow walking the case was what initially made it impossible for it ever to be tried before the election. But now that she's dismissed it and she has given an actual ruling, she was doing a lot of paperless rulings, and the paperless rulings were just like these electronic single-page memos. Yep, nope, we're pushing it. Yep, nope, gonna hear it later. She wasn't actually saying or doing anything. But this 93-page ruling that she actually entered in and dismissed the case, that is actionable. And Jack Smith has already filed for the appeal, and as a part of the appeal, he is going to be looking for her to be removed. So she's not going to get the case back. And she was the only judge who was going to play the game like this. The case is still not going to happen necessarily before the election, but it might happen before the inauguration. And that would be a problem, because he doesn't have any control over the Justice Department until he's sworn in. Yeah. Jack Smith has already said, we are going to pursue this up until January 20th. So if it does turn out that he is a person who withheld state secrets, that would be disqualifying. And so now the same 11th Circuit that advised Aileen Cannon to not take the case, the same 11th Circuit that has already reversed her twice, this would be the third strike, because her dismissal has no water. She dismissed it solely on the basis of Jack Smith being appointed incorrectly. And that's just not going to work.
I'm deficient in my knowledge of this, so I need you to answer this. She quoted Clarence Thomas's opinion in her dismissal of this case.
Right, so but that was not a majority. It does not, because Clarence Thomas was not writing for the majority. He was writing in his concurrence of an unrelated, tangentially related experience about the issue of immunity, but it was not signed off on by the other justices who voted with the majority on the immunity case. Right. And just because he recited the same flawed logic that has been used in a bunch of Heritage Foundation cases, most people who have heard that argument dismiss it out of hand. Not for the least of which reasons is that any person who had a special prosecutor could now say, oh, throw my conviction out. It wasn't legal. And that's not going to happen. The 11th Circuit is not going to support it. The 11th Circuit has already indicated they've done their automated reply, but it is quite possible that they will fast track it so that they can deal with the question deal with the new judge, and then see what's going to happen. Of course, all things in legal proceedings take time, but we are not yet in July. And if they decide that they are going to fast track consideration of the appeal so that by middle of August, there's a decision that is actually rendered, then we could see things gearing up. And like I say, even if the pool isn't drawn, even if all these other things don't happen, a case would be taking place right around election time. And just like James Comey saying we're still investigating Hillary Clinton
a week before the election.
A week before the election, that was enough to tip Hillary Clinton into losing. Just the Electoral College, by the way, because as Angela Davis and a number of other Black scholars have said, the racist institution of the Electoral College is itself why Clinton lost. She didn't lose the popular vote. And it was only because of the Slavery Compromise and the Three-Fifths Compromise and the representation that was baked into the Constitution because of racism that Donald Trump even won in the first place.
Yeah. So you're thinking it would have behooved her to make that ruling a little bit later in the summer as opposed to right after?
Actually, I don't, because I think she did it on purpose because she didn't want it anymore.
Okay.
She didn't like her name dragged through the mud every damn day, as what's happening. People calling her an idiot, people calling her whatever. And she also couldn't do anything that would anger the MAGA people. She couldn't say, well, I'm going to rule against you on this. Every single ruling that was on the face kind of
was a death threat to her.
Yeah.
Had a back door that benefited.
But that's what she signed up for, guys. I mean,
no, she didn't sign up to become a target of MAGA. She signed up because she thought it was going to be a cakewalk, and she thought she could slow walk this to the extent that, it would just be about
she
her.
Knew she didn't have the credentials to have that sort of judgeship. I mean, come on now. Wasn't she like a novice more so than J.D. Vance was as a senator?
Trump, who had never held elective office and was just on a TV show whose ratings were declining, became president of the United States. He appointed her.
I remember the narrative around her, like she has never had any opinions or never ruled on any major cases, and she was doing little petty crimes.
Was it her or was it Amy Berry Conant?
No, that was her.
No. Amy Coney Barrett's a legitimate jurist.
No, she's been out there.
But understand, but Jermaine, she wasn't even appointed until he was on his way out.
Okay.
She didn't have a time to have a record. She was a federal judge. She wasn't like a Supreme Court justice. So she was appointed almost out the door. And it is true. She had only adjudicated, I think, as a judge, she had only adjudicated 2 actual criminal trials.
Yeah, very little. Yeah.
She had no experience. But, you take a judgeship because, first of all, you're a federal judge now. It's a lifetime appointment. So you're guaranteed income. Also, you don't think you're going to be doing too many things that actually impact or make a difference.
Especially something like this. Yeah.
Right. You're in Fort Pierce.
You expect to deal with people stealing boats and baths, and
or
some RICO laws.
Stuff like that. She wasn't expecting to draw a Trump thing. Now Trump expected to draw. He wanted somebody who was on his side. But now that she has effectively removed herself from the case, he doesn't have that shield anymore. And fortunately for us, in the 11th Circuit, there are people who actually have some integrity and actually care about.
So they're not as conservative as the 5th Circuit, that 11th Circuit?
You don't know. The 11th Circuit is her circuit.
Okay.
And they have already reversed her decisions twice. So this is the 3rd strike. She's done. It's a wrap.
Okay.
But the point is that just because you're conservative doesn't mean that you absolutely ignore the Constitution. She was being an idiot. And she was doing stuff that has now embarrassed them. Yeah. And they don't want to be embarrassed. They might not like the fact that this would damage Trump. But if you're a true conservative, you don't really like Trump anyway.
Yeah.
He stole state secrets. He stole state secrets and had foreign actors in that building. He had state secrets in the bathroom. A true conservative doesn't like that.
No.
Even if they like their low taxes. So this is actually not the worst of all possible outcomes, because for sure, if she had stayed on the case through the election, there was not going to be any way that anything could possibly have moved forward. And now there's at least a glimmer of a sliver of a slice of hope that we might actually be able to see some traction on this. So thank you. I never thought I'd say this. Thank you, Aileen Cannon. I won't call you a judge because, as Anthony said, she shouldn't even judge a pie eating contest. Are we ready for something a little bit lighter? Can we do something?
Have we talked about Biden facing scrutiny yet?
We kind of did. I mean, I don't know that there's much more to say other than the fact that Democrats, I need you to stop wringing your damn hands. I don't know who you think is the replacement that is going to cover all of Biden's bases. I really don't.
Well,
I'm
of the mind that he's making a decision to drop out tomorrow morning after the RNC tonight. That's what I heard right before I got on.
There's lots of rumors. Joe, it's July. Polls are not elections.
I don't know if that's
Take a
true,
breath.
Tom. I feel like it's almost a done deal that he's going to get out. I'm not trying to like stoke anything, but that's what I've sort of been hearing.
If he gets out for health reasons, because if he has COVID at his age, that is dangerous. If he gets out for health reasons, I feel him. But if he gets out for pressure, we'll never know the difference. But at the same time, if he gets out, then I need all the Democrats who push for that and all of the young people who are like, he's so old, I need y'all to vote for whatever rock they put in his place.
Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to say here is, and I know y'all agree with this, but what I want to state for the fact is, it has always been their push to say, even if you don't like him, you're voting for not Trump. You're voting so that that party does not come into power and strip us all our rights. It's bigger than Biden. If it's bigger than Biden and he steps down, you can put a box of rocks in there and we voting for Rocks Harris or whatever the ticket is going to be, right? And so if that's the case, what I don't want to hear, and I will start throwing bows on this, I don't want to hear the same people that urged him to step down to be continually unhappy with their other choices.
No.
So whoever you pick, if he steps down, you better get the fuck behind that person.
So DNC, I'm telling you right now, don't make the mistake of creating a problem by just trying to elevate Kamala Harris. That's not the answer.
It's not her time.
Not the answer. You need a 50-ish.
Well, that's who is.
Wait, hold on, because we don't know anything yet. We don't know if he's even stepping down. There's lots of rumors. There's lots of people who needed to be keeping their mouths shut anyway until it's about to happen. Because you're not doing anything for the RNC by telegraphing that Biden may step down. What you need is a 50-ish white male veteran from the Rust Belt. That's what you need. Kamala Harris does not cover Biden's bases.
You mean
Kamala
Vance?
Harris shored up. Well, I mean, quite frankly, Pete Buttigieg almost checks off all those boxes, but he has another issue that's going to prevent him.
Where is Beto O'Rourke?
No, Beto doesn't get it. Beto's a failure.
She looks over her shoulder.
Gavin Newsom is the closest to being ready for the job. He runs the largest economy in the country. He's from California, which is not great. Kamala Harris
isn't Kamala also from California?
She is. So, but you'd need to figure something out. Kamala would just need to take up residency in DC. Because Gavin Newsom
in August, like, is that even legal for her to move that fast?
Trump moved to Florida to escape New York, and that didn't work for him. So I'm just saying, you need a white guy. And Eric Swalwell is also from California, so that doesn't really help. I don't know that black folks won't be happy. It's a lot of black folks don't really care for her like that.
I don't.
We've had that discussion.
We have to do a special show once this happens, and
we'll see.
Like jump on and
if it happens. If it happens.
Okay.
Because if you think that Hillary Clinton, as a woman, the wife of a president who was accused of actually helping policy and do things and was a whole sitting ass senator, was not able to beat Donald Trump, I don't know how you think a black woman is going to beat Donald Trump.
We have to remember that even the Democratic Party is still full of people who don't want to see black people do that. And more than we've ever been racist, we've always been sexist.
Yeah,
to the founding of this country.
That's very true.
People can say all they want. She's the only one. You lying to yourself. You are lying to yourself.
Well, my frat, Roland Martin, would very much beg to differ with you.
Okay.
What did Roly Poly have to say?
Oh my God. He was like, if it's not Kamala, they're going to lose all of the black base. A lot of the delegates will lose
not
their
true.
mind. You can't even move
the
money
that's
that
we've
already raised to anybody else because that money is already appropriated to the ticket that Kamala is on. So
okay, and so you add somebody to that ticket.
It would have to be her.
No, you replace the ticket at the top. She's still on the ticket. I'm not saying throw her off the ticket. I'm saying you can't have her.
Don't move her president. Put somebody else, Harris.
No, she's fine. She's fine as below the lead name. She's fine as Swalwell Harris. She's fine as Schiff. Well, it can't be Schiff. All these guys are from California. She's fine as Raskin Harris. She's fine as, you know, any number of people. She's fine as Whitmer Harris, although that would be miscalculation.
Well, that's the ticket they're floating. Harris Whitmer, not Whitmer Harris.
Yeah, but Whitmer doesn't want it, and we don't want Whitmer to step down.
Know about
out of Michigan. Well,
the
I mean,
is,
she can be lying on national television and say that
she's
not
been talking out of both sides of her mouth. She's been on the couch all week long.
Two women is not going to get it.
I'm gonna tell you one thing that Roland is wrong about, and I've listened to Roland enough to know that, you know, he just don't know women like this, is that
he's not always right.
One of the things that he is wrong about specifically is losing the black vote, because the black people that are voting Democrat, we're not voting for Biden. We're voting for don't lynch me in the streets again.
Yeah.
You know, we're voting for let's not make America sundown town again. That's what we're voting for. And so we don't care who you put up there. We're trying to stave off. As I mentioned it before, we're trying to get a stay of execution from the Republican Party. So I don't care who they put up there. I'm not going to vote for Trump, and I'm not going to not vote. I'm going to hold my nose and vote for whatever it is. I'm ready to vote for Biden today. If I have to, if he steps down, I'm voting for whoever's there tomorrow. So if they replace Kamala with some other people, I'm still going to vote Democrat, because I believe that what is at stake is so much bigger than the names on that
figure. Exactly. And I feel like that's what we are as black folk.
But see, so then you're saying you disagree with Roland Martin, which is a wise thing to do, because he's absolutely wrong if that's what he's saying.
No. I'm just telling you what I've been hearing. What's been trending all day long.
Okay, but Roland Martin doesn't have the biggest social media footprint on the planet, so we can move away from taking our
tread lightly.
I mean, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, because we could talk about some other things that your frat is doing. And
hey.
may not want to bring up.
Let's pull this back.
Guys, so we're going to pull this back.
We have been in each other's company, and we've dapped and we've gripped.
I understand. I got it. That's fine. Let's move on to something that also deals with Black people in a very positive way. I would like to talk about the forthcoming anniversary of Fade in the Water. Let's take a look at this video, please.
Literally less than a month to figure out what we're doing for Fade in the Water.
Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I myself cannot wait to celebrate the inaugural Fade in the Water Day. I just love holidays. Juneteenth, Valentine's Day, Christmas, Easter, Cinco de Mayo, April Fools. Just call me Joan Carol Clayton. If you know, you know. So I did take the liberty of putting together a list so that we all can make sure that our celebrations are up to par, near and far. First things first, the menu. We will be having seafood. It happened at the marina, okay? The fish will be fried and so will the shrimp. And if you can't eat that, sides of your choice, okay? Next, swim lessons. We'll be having community swim lessons, because none of this would have happened if Aquaman hadn't jumped in that water and saved old dude, okay? So the old heads will be learning, the babies will be learning, butterfly, backstroke, freestyle. We're all getting in the water. Thirdly, merch. Graphic design should have been in a week ago, but we can see what we can do. I myself already have a bucket hat and 3 shirts because I don't know how many celebrations I'm going to that day. Number 4, dramatic reenactments for those 13 years or younger. I want this to be like Easter Sunday pageants, Christmas Eve retellings, okay? I want to see what those little Denzels and Violas have up their sleeve. Next, musical chairs. But the last 2 standing have to slap box with that folding chair, honey. Put it on FanDuel. Let's make some money. Last but not least, another educational aspect. I think we should all learn about Shirley Chisholm, her legacy, what she's done in our...
So this is something that is a part of our culture now. We cannot deny it. It is, in fact, more celebratory than Juneteenth, as far as I'm concerned, because we were all here. We could all see it playing out in real time. That's right, Thundercats, ho! And they came
and throw up your hat.
The hat throwing. We will be releasing the Gilligan's Island song. Thank you for helping to drive that over to more than 500,000 views. So
and Regina King's movie should play on a continuous loop on BET, her movie about Shirley Chisholm. It should be a marathon, that movie all day.
I mean, Rustin, Just do whatever you want on that day. Get the Netflix, get the Amazon Prime, get the One Night in Miami's, anything that you
One
want
night
to
in
do to
Miami.
celebrate.
Mhm.
Everything except Divorce in the Black.
Yo,
I said we were going to try to keep it light. Listen,
did you watch it?
I did.
so I got through. I had to pause because we were doing the show, but I did want to give it a chance. I got all the way through the scene where Hardict was meeting, I guess, her best friend and the husband at the restaurant, and he was already on one, coming in asking for a bourbon straight. And so the girlfriend walked out and walked down the stairs to call Megan, talking about, where you at, girl? And I guess Megan was just pulling up in the car. But the thing that took me, absolutely took me, is when Mama Bertrand, who was cast from the leftover Phoniques, aka Precious's baby mama, that chick stood up in the shirt and took off her clothes because Megan Good's mama gave her that slip, and then took the boy's body out the casket.
Yes, she
and
did.
walked
I
it
saw
out.
that.
Stop.
Literally took it. Hit, that's the part that I saw.
Look,
I can't
and
believe
put the boy in the flatbed of the truck. The Bertrands don't need you. I said, you need somebody
They
to
took
teach you how to
the
pronounce
the embalmed and dressed body of a young boy out of a casket and put it in the back of a pickup truck.
But only because,
that was
in
so
fairness,
deliberate on Tyler's part. I felt like he knew what he was doing.
This is a Tyler Perry movie.
It's a Tyler Perry movie. Megan Good's daddy was the preacher, and they had the funeral at his church. And he started off just being a preacher, and then he started trash talking the murdered boy. Now, the murdered boy got murdered by trying to rob somebody's house, but you didn't need to do that when the family's sitting in the front row. And that's when Mama took off the slip and yelled and said, "Take him out! Take him out!" She had to say it like 3 times. And the thug sons that they have from Central Casting played their parts perfectly. And they carried that body out the church and put him in a flatbed and drove off. And Megan Good's single expression that I've seen so far, because I haven't seen her smile or anything, it's just been,
look, like I knew the face. I haven't seen the movie, but I knew the face.
That's her whole shit right now, because everything, once Daddy said, and that boy, blah, 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 all of a sudden Megan was like, Daddy, and the expression never left. She was just confused. And
it's akin to Kerry Washington's quiver. You know her lip quiver?
Yes.
Yes. Or Denzel's point.
Yeah. Viola snot.
I mean,
Viola and that snot, yo.
I
never seen nobody. I can understand crying on cue, but snot too every time.
That's her go-to.
I will say this. I respect, because a lot of people, I hadn't really posted on my timeline about Tyler Perry. I did try to have a Netflix watch party or an Amazon Prime watch party on Fall from Grace.
Fall from Grace, yo.
But there was a national kind of tragedy that happened, so we couldn't do it. So my go-to phrase from Fall from Wigs is when the dude who played Eggs in True Blood, Micah or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Ashtray, bitch! I felt like this whole first scene of this movie was just Ashtray, bitch, like just on a loop. It was just crazy. So I respect Tyler Perry. I respect that he knows his audience. I respect that he creates entertainment at a bargain price, and he gives Black actors work. I respect all of that. What I can't respect is Taraji P. Henson crawling out of the ocean bone dry at the end of Acrimony. So there's all these problems, and I'm going to make myself watch it because it got a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I found.
Of course it did. I didn't watch it based off the picture for the poster. I was like, oh hell no, I don't like nothing about this. Now you know what? I'm gonna put a quick blurb because y'all know I do diversity and inclusion for a living, and this is what I was talking about diversity. And so you may believe, and this is where a lot of people go wrong when they look at an all Black cast or an all Black something or a Black producer and director, studio owner that is doing his own thing and go, that is super diverse because, he's doing this whole Black thing. All Black people is actually not a diverse group. They all Black, and they all sometimes can have a singular point of view, which can be overused and turned into, tripe over time. I have heard either directly or through the grapevine or whatever that he doesn't have a writer's room, and I would encourage Tyler to add a little diversity to his screenwriting process in order to fill some of the holes that tend to be in some of his scripts. Maybe have some better ways of doing things. Hire somebody that knows wigs better. Put some different types of flavors and colors in there. You don't have to do it all on your own, and it can't be the money, because I know you got money. So why is it that you don't have other writers in there that can give you a better perspective? I'm still mad about Fall from Grace, because I remember thinking, Angel is one good friend of mine. Angel has seen every episode of Law and Order. She could have told him about the holes in that plot. Yeah. Right. Just from her extensive history and love of Law and Order, but not having a cohesive story is unacceptable. Say what?
Why you did Felicia like that, Tyler? Like, that was America's mom, and you turned her into an elder abuser. Whose son was what? There were so many problems with
Lonnie Love.
Thank you, Anthony.
Lonnie Love made waves this week when she admonished him to consider hiring people to write, because possibly he could elevate his status in Hollywood a little bit more, maybe even win awards. So that narrative is out there, Joy.
Oh, it's been out, and I guess the thing for us to all realize about Tyler Perry is that Tyler Perry lives in a house with a landing strip, and he owns his own studio, and legitimate productions are booking his studio to do their movies in.
Oh, yeah.
So even it doesn't have to all be from Tyler Perry. It's just like George Lucas. George Lucas is a very bad writer and a very bad director, but he lucked into a franchise that has created billions and billions of dollars. So it doesn't really matter. He segued into making special effects better. Yeah. He didn't do a whole lot of movies. He did Howard the Duck. He exec produced, Raiders of the Lost Ark with his good friend Steven Spielberg, all of that sort of stuff. But as far as being a creative person who actually creates the content that comes out under his name, that's not necessarily the thing. Tyler, I think, wants it to be his because he knows this is the threshold. I know I'm a land in here. Mm-hmm. And if I let somebody else do it and I land in here, he don't want that. He's happy staying in here because he's a billionaire from here. And he doesn't, maybe he could go here, but
he don't care.
Why? You're a billionaire.
It all, the thing that complicates it, I hear a lot of actors, and I heard especially on this production, that he has paid them the first time that their quote supposed to be paid. So I hear that from Taraji, I heard it from Megan, I heard it from Corey. So I feel like that sort of story sort of eclipses everything that we just said right now. Because
you're saying he pays them what they're worth as opposed to
and as much as they've ever made in Hollywood.
Yeah, no, and listen, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But also, a person who is an artist who cares about their art, they will take a check. Taraji was in tears talking about how she got people to pay and she could hardly pay her mortgage or whatever. So I get it. I understand wanting to make money. I do. But there's and even Angela Bassett was in Meet the Browns now. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
He gets some people, but there are some people who have not worked with him. And I think the people who have not worked with him are actors of an unimpeachable caliber who will wait. And who
Angela Bassett has unimpeachable character. Some people do it for the love of what they see, the potential they see in what he's building. They're like, you know what, I'll throw in with you. I'll go do a little cameo in your little movie, whatever.
But she was a star. She was the name that sold Meet the Browns. Honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And of course my good friend and frat brother Lance Gross played her son. So there were lots of people in there outside of his normal group of folks, like Mr. Brown, who was Medea's baby daddy. And his daughter and all this other.
My point is, you can pay actors what they're worth, and also pay a couple of up and coming writers, scale to have some help to flesh out those stories. Because I mean, imagine if you become not just the Medea franchise plus others, you become a full on powerhouse putting out art house films that are getting Cannes Awards and whatnot, because of the caliber of storytelling and acting that you're having. And you can do all of that and within your compound in Atlanta. I mean, that's an elevation, and you're still in control. You become the Black George Lucas or Steven Spielberg or whatever, or you become Tyler Perry 2.0. You don't even have to be the Black version of anybody. You become a name in different spaces. And I'm not saying that we need to pander to the Cannes Film Festival group. I'm saying we could put out real art.
Exactly. You know? That's the point. Most Black movies of quality are independent features and independently financed. You don't get a lot of studios signing on for stories that are authentic. Like, you know, If Beale Street Could Talk was a brilliant film. Moonlight, a brilliant film. Even movies like Precious, right? Precious was done on a shoestring. Precious could have been done, you know, well, I guess maybe he didn't have the studio.
Shay, you got a good point. Involved. He is opening the door for other people in a future generation. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. And if those people are given a chance to shine within 5 to 10 years, then there will be an opportunity for him to enjoy that expanded legacy. Because he produces a lot of content. And let's be clear, it's not that different from Norman Lear.
Chan.
You were Chan.
God damn it, Chan.
Stop it.
I was wondering when he was going to quip and make one of his famous isms. I was like,
he's done some already throughout the show. But when you think about Norman Lear, right? Good Times, The Jeffersons, All in the Family, these are considered classic shows. And they, you know, many of them hold up. But you also look at shows like Different Strokes or Dynasty, which was an Aaron Spelling thing, or, you know, Melrose Place. A lot of these soapy, frothy, you know, Falcon Crest. What's the big deal? Dallas. Was Dallas high art? So I'm not saying there's not a space for
all of it.
To do stuff that sells. I'm not saying that. But when
I'm literally saying diversify.
When you have Supercell coming out on Netflix, there is a space for quality.
Supercell is fire.
Supercell is fire, and it's back up in the charts. Thank you for those Sharpies who listen to
I need to start watching that. I've been hearing a lot.
Oh no, it's great.
Awesome. It's a Brit show, so you've got that. It takes like maybe 30 minutes to get into that accent.
Right.
They're speaking. They all sound like Daniel Kaluuya, but it's an excellent miniseries.
It's a really good show. So that said, I think we are nearing the end of our show. I'm looking if there's anything that we didn't cover. I think we actually did cover everything.
We did.
We did.
I don't know if we want to go back. Jermaine, there was something that you mentioned that you wanted to cover.
Well, we covered it. We don't really have to show the video, but I feel like we kind of covered it.
Okay.
I guess, well, if I start talking about it, the audience won't know what I'm referencing if I talked about it. So do we have to show the video?
No.
We don't.
We don't. Yeah. But I just feel like right now, where we are with our platform in the Democratic Party, we're just not reaching anyone with the messaging of what we can do to make lives better. I don't think we are. I feel like that's pretty much gone. We don't have any inspirational figures to even galvanize us right now. And when I watched that one particular video, and I'll give it a quick overview, it just featured some Nazis running down the streets of Nashville that were terrifying, Black neighborhoods. I feel like we need to pivot and really dial in on the messaging of what lives might be like if we don't win, what we might be up against, what might be stripped from us. And I don't mean to make it all doom and gloom, but the right, that's what they're doing. And I feel like we'll kind of like cut into a little bit more of that voter base who doesn't pay attention to what the Democrats want to do. And I feel like that might possibly jar them and get them to the polls more so than this. This is what the Democrats are going to do for you to make your lives better. Do you guys think that would work? Or do you think it's a little bit too dark?
Actually, that takes me to, I took some screenshots of the 20-point plan that I got from the Republican National Convention. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. And I'll read it because it's going to be really small. But it starts with, the 20 promises to the American people. Seal the border. Stop the migrant invasion. 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. 3, end inflation. I don't know how you're going to do that. End inflation and make America affordable again. 4, make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. No timelines on this. 5, stop the outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower that appeals to those people that want their jobs back in the Rust Belt. Large tax cut for workers and no tax on tips. People are reporting their tips now anyway. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and wait, hang on, move it up a little bit, and freedom and the right to keep and bear arms. So they're pandering to that Second Amendment people, the group, the freedom of whatever group. They're pandering to a lot of things. But if you're not paying attention, you miss that, in this first part, the largest deportation that's the way it should look. The largest deportation operation in American history. Large cuts. Say what?
Your abuela might be going back to Mexico.
Tu abuela.
Yeah.
You might be going back to Mexico. Prevent World War III. Well, you know what? If you didn't foment it, you wouldn't have to prevent it. But prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East. Build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. This just sounds like a bunch of empty promises. And the weaponization of the government against the people. Y'all are the ones weaponizing the government. Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. That is all a war on people of color. Rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., which we know is notoriously Black, making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. There's more. That's just the first 10. Strengthen and modernize our military, blah, blah, blah. Keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. What the hell are you talking about? Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Now, if you think about who is reading this, they're going to get to 14 and be like, oh, this is what I want. Skip all the other bullshit. They're not going to touch Social Security. I can vote for that. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate. Most people don't know what the electric vehicle mandate is, but they're going to say we're going to cancel that. So it's going to make people feel like, oh, now I don't have to buy an electric car. Guess what, homie? You never had to buy an electric car. But the way this is worded feeds into this idea of they're helping me. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory. This is 16. Race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And this is keep men out of women's sports. Dude, what is you talking about? Right?
Well, that's about the whole trans thing.
Right. But they make it feel like we're gonna save girls from being attacked in the bathroom. Ain't no transgender woman ever attacked another woman in the bathroom. Deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. That is indoctrination at the collegiate level. Secure our elections for same-day, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. This is
poll tax. That's a setup for freaking election stealing, because anytime you have paper ballots, you can just burn those motherfuckers.
And unite our country. Oh, boy, please. But my point with all of that is a message that whoever you are, if you read that, there's something in there for you if you're reading it. If I'm not as smart as I am, and I am smart, then I only take it at face value. And I go, oh, these sound like good things to do. And this is how the Republican Party is winning over people who are either too lazy to research it on their own or too trusting to believe that they're going to actually do all these things. They wouldn't not nary a number or a date anywhere in that list of 20. And you can make all kind of promises.
But there's a lot of deception in that list too, Joy.
Yeah, we see it as deception. They see it as hope.
But the Iron Dome didn't even completely get done in Israel. So there's no way it can be done in a country that's like 500 times the size. So let's be clear, Jermaine. I think to answer your question about what the Democrats can do, it's something that they're already beginning to do. They haven't finalized it. They haven't made it particularly complete yet. But they are leaning on Project 2025.
Yeah.
Yes.
Project 2025 is their answer to all of this BS, because for every point that they are saying is what they want to do, they can point right to Project 2025 and say, you're not going to cut Social Security and Medicare or change the age, but why on page 732 does it say you're going to increase the age of retirement? Why does it say that you're going to do this? Why does it say you're going to do that? Oh, and I didn't hear anything about veterans in that long list, but they're talking about changing qualifications for veterans. They're talking about eliminating funding for veterans on VA and other things. There's a ton of things.
But nobody's going to read 900 pages. That I got in a text.
Right.
That is reaching a lot more people.
Absolutely. And so, but every single thing that Joe Biden's team, every ad buy that they have purchased, it needs to be JD Vance talking trash about Donald Trump, and it needs to be 5 bullet points of Project 2025, reaching out to unions, women,
Old people,
black people, and
Old black people.
Young black people. Intersectionality is the name of the game. You get 5 death knell points on Project 2025. That's one of your ads, and JD Vance talking trash. That's the other of your ads, because the GOP is already concerned about JD Vance. Mike Pence didn't have the same sort of inflammatory language about Donald Trump when he was running against Donald Trump in the primary. He didn't do it. Now, Ted Cruz had some things that prevented him from being the vice president, but Mike Pence didn't have anything to say that was that bad.
We didn't even know who he was, really.
Hitler. JD Vance called Donald Trump Hitler. And that's not so easy to forgive. And that's not going to endear him to Palestinians aside. You don't get to call Donald Trump Hitler and think that that's going to translate into votes. It's a dangerous game. We will see how this plays out. For my part, I will just say, Joe, it's not too late. It's not too late unless you have somebody who has been vetted and is ready to go to take place on the top of the ticket. Kamala Harris is not a top ticket person. Kamala Harris needed your lame duck season to get the bona fides. Plus, she needed not to run against Donald Trump. If Donald Trump loses twice, I will concede that Kamala Harris has a shot. She cannot run against Donald Trump.
She can't take him down.
She can't take him down.
They got to fight fire with fire in that case. It has to be another white man. But Vince has a point. Project 2025 is the culmination, not the beginning. They've already laid a lot of this foundation in place, which is why it's so important. Because to his point, the Supreme Court is already stacked against anybody with a progressive mindset. And so everything is in place. All they need is their final move. And so this is why it's so important to make sure that Trump doesn't get in office. More so than loving whoever the Democrats put up, we got to make sure he doesn't get in office, because he is checkmate on 2025. Right.
And you can't complain about Joe Biden and wanting Joe Biden gone and then just not vote for exactly who replaces him. You can't do that. You don't get to have it both ways. Right. If it's Sleepy Joe and Sleepy Joe says goodbye, you vote for the person he's replaced with.
That's what I'm saying.
You just
no matter who it is. Right?
But that's not going to work for labor people, union people in those Rust Belt states who really don't like black folks like that. You cannot expect.
And see, I feel like diverse tickets are the only way to go right now. When have we not had a diverse ticket in the last 16 years? I feel like that's what we need.
We can.
He was a man.
You can't have a non. Again, we've been sexist longer than we've been racist.
Right.
Obama was a black man. Yeah, they need a man at the top of the ticket. As much of a feminist as I am, and as much as I actually would love to see Kamala Harris as president someday, at this moment, that's not a chance I'm willing to take, because I know white people, kind of like, what was this? Dave Chappelle, I know the whites. Right. And I know what they're not going to put up with. And we will lose key Democratic states if we put a black woman at the top of the ticket. As much as people love to say, it's what they do behind closed doors. Say what?
These quote unquote polls having her polling ahead of him, you guys aren't buying?
Not buying it.
Okay.
Not buying it.
I'll just say this. My frat brother, Tom Bradley, was supposed to win governorship of California. And he ain't. He was up double digits because white folks didn't want to say, hold on, let me finish my sentence. White folks didn't want. What?
I'm going to need you to calm down. I've seen you jump on folks a couple times today. Stop that.
All I'm saying is that if you think that white folks who are barely Biden voters voted for Biden because he's union, voted for Biden because he's from Scranton, voted for Biden because he's Sleepy Joe that they knew from 50 years in office. If you think those people are automatically going to vote for a black woman in this country, in this political environment, when already supposedly black male support for Trump is higher than it has ever been historically. You are fooling yourselves. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's just because a few polls, every 538 had Hillary Clinton winning in 87% of their projections. 87% of their projections. Polls are not elections. And people lie, or people are uninterested, or people just, they're so consumed with whatever. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But depending on what your sample is, and these polls are sampling 2,000 people, you might get the right ones who are like, yeah, Kamala's great. But that doesn't mean
100% of the people in my building are voting for Biden, but that does not say that he's going to take Georgia.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's just you.
I just wish we weren't so out of touch with the elite. Like the Democratic elite, they have a different frame of mind from what we have on the ground. And it's interesting that
they're
those
trying
two
to push
things
Joe out
exist.
before it's necessary. So
yeah. So I just wonder, like, where that divide is, like, where they're thinking, where do we like miss?
You know what your best shot at President Kamala Harris is?
Mm-hmm.
Inaugurating Joe Biden, and then he has a stroke.
And that's what I've always hoped for. I just get him to January, and then he'll give it to her.
We said it on the last show, January 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cough your lungs out after you say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Is not in the Constitution. Your oath does not include so help me God. So help me God is something that people voluntarily add. It is not something that is in the constitutional oath. Just so we're clear. That's why you're saying it's a Christian country. It's not in the Constitution.
Well, we shall see in these next 24 to 48 hours what happens.
We shall.
I'm on the fence. I'm kind of like wondering what they're getting ready to do.
I'm not too far off from you, Jermaine. Like I am anxious, and it pervades my thoughts on a daily basis. I worry about it because I can't do anything about it.
Right.
Oh, and just one final thing while we're talking about polls and while we're talking about chicanery and everything, there was a video that was released this week by Robert Kennedy Jr.'s son.
Oh, yeah.
Of Robert Kennedy Jr. on the phone with Trump, talking so collegially about what Robert Kennedy needs to do and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 blah. It's like a 5-minute video, and he posted it, and then they took it down.
Yeah.
But the fix is in. All you people who were thinking that voting for Kennedy was like an alternative, Kennedy was probably about to make a speech at the RNC until that video came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So go on ahead and vote for Kennedy. Please do. If you don't want to vote for Trump, please vote for Kennedy. But if you don't want to vote to go to Trump's benefit, vote for Biden. Stick with Biden-Harris. Mm-hmm. If something does happen, then don't get too much in your feelings.
Yeah.
Vote for the ticket that has a chance of winning. And the third party does not have a chance of winning.
Yeah.
Remember, the goal is a stay of execution.
Yeah.
Yep.
That video also showed me just how vulnerable he is, though, because if you're so strong and you're going to win, I know you want to pat your numbers and get it even further ahead. But to me, I heard just a little bit of desperation in that video, too. So
it's plenty of desperation.
Yeah, because I was like, are you guys really as confident as you're portraying yourself to be? Because I heard a whole lot of humility in that video when I listened to it.
You know what I didn't hear? I didn't hear any of the hatred that Trump usually.
None of it.
There was no anger. There was no elevated voice. There was no, why didn't you do this? It was all cool.
It was at his mercy,
and smooth.
Yeah. I was like, this is a different Trump I'm hearing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was a Trump who didn't think he was on television.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
He has never cared. He has never cared about this country.
Mm-hmm.
His sister, there's a recording of his sister saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And of course, his niece, Dr. Mary Trump, is
I
a
love
full
her,
on.
by the way.
No, she's great. She's great.
I do. She's never invited to the family reunions, I bet.
maybe put her on the bottom of the ticket, so you have a Trump on the Democratic side too.
Something.
That would be something to do.
Right.
Marketing, if anything.
Right. If you had a Democratic president whose last name was Donald, and you added Mary Trump to the ticket, you could say, vote Donald Trump.
And some freaking cockamamie would do it, not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, you could have Byron Donald and Mary Trump, but that wouldn't work. But
no.
Just
I'm
things
a
to think
little
about.
bit less anxious as a result of this talk. So thank you guys.
I'm glad.
All right.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
I still
very
have a
cool.
headache.
You
We
do.
love ratcheting down the tension. And we thank all of our Sharpies for sticking with us. This is a supersized episode in commemoration of the start of the show. We thank Jermaine for joining us, and we hope in the near future to have more expansive conversations. Obviously, the DNC is coming, and apparently that's going to be a whole lot of fun too.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out to our OGs who wanted to be here with us tonight, but things dragged them away at the last minute.
know. I was looking
Chuck
forward to
Hobbs,
talking with
we
you.
hope that you heal quickly from your ordeal. Sharon, we love you wherever you are in the world right now. We hope to see both of y'all someday soon.
Yeah.
Hey.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I would love to see
Invitation's
that
always
voice
open, Chan. Invitation's always open, Chan.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hugs
thank
to
you,
you too,
Anthony
Anthony.
Turner.
Mhm.
And we will see you next week. On behalf of Steel Sharpens Steel, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joy Stevens.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
And this is Steel Sharpens Steel. Goodbye, everybody.